because women and gender equality and women's empowerment matters to climate change action. The climate change tragedy, both in slow motion and in terms of the Big Bang extreme weather events that affect communities, peoples, nations around the world, they have a disproportionate and differential impact on women and girls. In so many different ways, it affects them. It affects their health, it affects the way it affects their food security, it affects the work, their livelihood, which is often at a subsistence level, and this is particularly in poor communities and poor countries. And then it affects and increases the discrimination, inequalities, violence, and the burden of care and domestic work which they already disproportionately carry. So it is a huge impact and a compounding of inequality and discrimination. So that's one aspect of the gender equality and climate change connection. At the same time, and irrespective of the fact that their contribution is not recognized or supported adequately, they have been in the front lines of climate action, in mitigation, in adaptation, in changing and the transition and a just transition to a more sustainable consumption and production patterns and low emission future. So this is something that we need to recognize. We have to give them a voice. They have to participate effectively in all aspects and all sectors of climate action and adaptation and mitigation. And we are very pleased that on this Gender Day, we are marking 6 years of relentless work in highlighting the important connection and vital connection between gender justice and climate justice. And we are doing that by also mainstreaming gender into what used to be a gender-blind treaty, the UNFCCC and process, the UNFCCC process. Now we have at this point, first of all, in Paris, a recognition that in taking climate action, member states will respect and promote gender equality and human rights and women's empowerment. And now this year at Marrakech, we have another milestone decision which now adopts a 3-year program of work, an enhanced program of work, a strengthened program of work, which inter alia commits member states to also adopt a gender action plan, to certain measures for gender balance, and to accountability of all UNFCCC processes and their outcomes. Also it commits to cover all of the areas of thematic areas of the Paris Agreement, which was not achieved last year, but now we've got it: finance, technology, loss and damage, mitigation, in addition to adaptation and capacity building. Now all areas are to be gender mainstream, gender prioritized. This is amazing, and we on this Gender Day celebrate all of that, but also it's about our resolve to take this agenda forward, to look at some 50 decisions or so that have been taken on gender-related issues in regard to climate change. We have to also see how we populate and articulate the Gender Action Plan going forward. So we need all stakeholders, the UN system, and UN Women is very committed. We need member states, including champion member states who have been leading the charge from all continents. We need the gender and women and gender constituency and civil society, the climate change civil society to be engendered and to be engaged in this action plan. And also we need resources, finance from the donors, from the international community to be dedicated to this task of making sure that as we push for gender justice and we highlight the climate change dimension, and as we push for the climate justice, we highlight and push for gender justice.